Did you think building a successful Amazon KDP business was going to be easy? Well, I did, and even though I have sold over $900,000 worth of KDP books, built 2 six-figure Amazon KDP businesses, I've had to spend so much time learning exactly what works on KDP and what doesn't, and that has been an extremely time-consuming and difficult process. And if right at the start of my own journey, if I knew the 20 things I'm about to tell you in this video, I would have been able to achieve success on Amazon KDP not just so much easier, but so much quicker as well. So in this video, I'm going to give you the 20 most important things I've learned since I started Amazon KDP over 6 years ago, and 20 things that have helped me build this into a full-time business that lets me literally travel around the world and work whenever and wherever I want to. So point number 1, research is more important than the book itself. Now this just basically comes down to if you're not doing your research correctly, i.e. you're not finding exactly who wants to buy your book and how they're going to find it, it does not matter how good your book is. If people can't find it or people don't want it, you're not going to sell a single unit. Focus a lot on niche research before you even start creating your book. Number 2, keywords are not as important as you think. Keywords used to be super important on Amazon KDP way back in 2020, 2021, 2022, but as more people have started creating books on the platform, the organic reach you can get from keywords is just nowhere near what it used to be. Yet so many people spend and waste loads of time filling out their keyword boxes, which is important to do, but it's nowhere near as important as you think. And that leads me on to point number 3, which is that advertising is more important than people think. Because now organic keyword ranking isn't as strong as it used to be, you need to get that initial ranking, especially when you've just launched your book. That has to come through ads. So ads have gone from kind of a nice to have back when you could easily rank organically for keywords to being pretty much essential when you're first launching an Amazon KDP book. When you want to get your book in front of customers initially, when you don't have that existing ranking, you have to be using ads in the right way to get your book in front of the right customers. When they start buying your book, that then triggers your book to start ranking organically. But to start that movement, you have to be using ads. And if you're a complete beginner to ads and you want a full guide of everything you need to know to get started, then I'll leave a link on screen to a video where I go through exactly what you need to know as a beginner. And now staying on the topic of ads, point number 4, Amazon ads do not lead to sales, they lead to clicks. People think that just because you nail your ad campaigns, you're going to make loads of money from your KDP books. Ads don't make sales. Amazon just get people onto your book listing. You can have the best ads possible. If people land on your book and your book quality is really poor, your title's rubbish, your cover's rubbish, your description's rubbish, you've got really bad reviews, people aren't going to buy it. Stop thinking of ads as this magic bullet that's going to make sales. Ads just get people onto your page. It's then up to you to convert people from your page with a good book listing. And this leads nicely onto point number 5. You need to focus on conversion rate optimization, i.e. as many people who land on your book to buy your book as possible. This comes from a really good book cover, really well structured, formatted title, good description, really good A+ content, good reviews on your books, because the higher the conversion rate of your book page, the more money you're going to be making and the more efficient your ads are going to be. Stop thinking about ads as making sales. Ads just get people onto your page. The conversion rate optimization of that page is what's going to actually make the sales. Point number 6, kind of tying into that previous one, is that reviews are now so important. Reviews are social proof. No one buys anything online these days without having solid reviews. So getting reviews on your books is extremely important. Now, again, it's kind of that chicken or egg situation. How do you get reviews if no one's buying your books in the first place? And no one's going to buy your books if you're not getting reviews. So once you get loads of reviews on your books, you'll start making sales, and then those reviews will kind of look after themselves. But to get to that initial point, you need to be building up reviews using tools like something like Book Bounty. And I have a full tutorial also on how to use Book Bounty, which I will also leave on screen now if you want to go ahead and check that out. Point number 7, if your book is bad, you will get found out. Now, the first point of this video was me saying that research is more important than the book itself. That doesn't mean you can just start uploading trash to Amazon KDP, a poor quality product, and expect to be successful. If your book is bad, people will basically call you out and you will get bad reviews and your sales will stop. So many people think that you can just get loads of reviews on your book through something like Book Bounty and then it's going to be fine, because although your book's not that great, you know, people are still going to buy it because you have those decent reviews up front. Ultimately, eventually, people will buy your book, realize it's a bad product, and you will get bad reviews. So you can't cheat your way to KDP success. If your quality of your product is not good, you will get found out. Point number 8, this is a really important one, is you do not need to be the only book in a niche. I point out how important niche research is, and so many people think that I'm trying to do niche research, but I just can't find the right book. And the reason for that is they're just basically trying to find find a niche that there's literally no competition in at all, and they're the only one there. KDP is so popular these days, it's very unlikely you're going to find a niche where you're the only one there or there's hardly any competition. That's something that used to work a few years ago, but definitely doesn't really work as well now. You don't need to be the only one in a niche. You just need to find niches that have proven really high demand, because if demand is high enough, there is plenty of space for multiple products in there, and especially if yours is the best version of those products, people will buy yours. The amount of competition in a niche only makes sense relative to demand. If you're the only one in a niche where so there's low competition, but there's also not that much demand, it doesn't really make any difference, because if no one's looking for that niche in the first place, no one's going to buy your book. Whereas if there's a little bit of competition in a niche, but the demand is super high, then that's even better, because although there's a little bit of competition you're against, because there are so many people looking for your book, there is definitely still room and potential for your book in a slightly crowded niche. So yes, you do not need to be the only one in a really small niche. You can be successful with niches where there are already existing books. Now, point number 9, and I kind of touched on that in the previous one, is that demand and competition are linked. So many people think that when they're doing niche research, they ask me, Sam, do I need to have, a niche where there's less than 3 books, or there's 4 to 5, or less than 2, whatever? There is no golden answer to that, because the amount of competition in a niche only makes sense relative to the amount of demand. Niches where there's significant demand, you can get away with there being more competition. Niches where there is less demand, you need to have less competition in there. Competition and demand make no sense on their own. They only make sense together. So it's all about finding this balance when you're doing your niche research. Point number 10, if you want to be successful on Amazon KDP fast, you need to invest in someone who's actually been there and done that. Now, again, kind of a shameless plug, I have my Publisher Profit Mastery course. If you want to be successful with KDP, I recommend investing in that course. It teaches you everything you need to know from someone like myself, who has been doing Amazon KDP for 6 years, has sold over $900,000 worth of book sales, and built 2 6-figure Amazon KDP businesses. If you want to actually get successful from this, learn from someone like myself who has been there and done that. It will save you so much time. I've literally dedicated over 3,000 hours to my KDP business. It can save you all of the headache of knowing exactly what you do need to do and knowing exactly what you don't want to waste your time doing. If you want to be successful in a short space of time, you do need to invest in your education. It's the same with anything. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. It can be one of the biggest or the highest returning things that you can ever do. And if you do want to check out that course, I will leave that link down below in the description. Point number 11, you can't be producing cheap books. This is another thing that's changed in recent years. Amazon have recently brought out, kind of a rule where you get less royalties now for cheaper books. I think that's a really good thing, because it encourages the market to produce higher quality books in order to be able to justify those prices. If you're trying to produce like really low quality and cheap books, not only do you get less royalties, but advertising on them is extremely difficult because your margins are just so small. So try and avoid producing books that are cheap. Anything under, $9.99 is just way too cheap in my opinion now. You need to be looking at something higher to maximize the royalties you get, and also to maximize the effectiveness of your Amazon ad campaigns. Point number 12, Amazon KDP is not a get-rich-quick scheme. So many people start KDP, expect to see significant results in 2 to 3 months, and it's just not the case. You have to start building this slowly. It's a passive income model. You can literally generate books that make you money without even touching them, but to get to that point, you need to be patient and build up your portfolio of books slowly. Like I say, if you do want to get successful with Amazon KDP as quickly as possible, the best way to do that is to invest in some kind of course. But if you don't do that, you have to understand that you have to spend a lot of time learning what works and what doesn't, and trialing and erroring a lot of things for yourself, and that naturally takes a lot of time. There is no such thing as a get-rich-quick scheme. If anyone's saying that Amazon KDP is that for you, just be very cautious. Amazon KDP is not one. Nothing is a get-rich-quick scheme in life. You have to be very patient and focused on KDP if you want to make it a success. But if you are and you know what you're doing, you can really turn this into a life-changing business. Point number 13, focus on quality, not quantity. Now, again, a lot of people when they start Amazon KDP, a big mistake they make is they just think, I'm going to create as many books as I possibly can. And the logic is, one or two of them will start selling pretty well, and I'll just, kind of see what happens. That used to work on KDP. You are significantly better just producing less but higher quality books that are a much better product, and B, you can charge a lot more money for and squeeze as much as you can out of those books. Produce one book, get reviews on it, get A+ content on there, and really squeeze as much as you can out of that book before you move on to the other one. There's no point having 100 books where you've squeezed maybe 20% out of each one. You're so much better having 10 books that that you've absolutely optimized and maximized the potential for them. And that's why focusing on quality over quantity is so important in Amazon KDP, and more so now than ever. Point number 14, invest in tools and software. They are there to help you. You have to lose, again, this mindset of being worried about investing into a KDP business. KDP is print on demand, so it attracts naturally people who don't really want to invest in a business. That's why it's good in the first place, because you haven't got to buy in loads of stock and all this kind of thing. But with all that money you save from not having to invest in stock or any huge upfront costs, should be invested in either, well, ideally your education, and then also tools and software, because tools can massively help you on your KDP journey. Again, it just comes down to getting much more accurate data and also being able to just save you so much time as well. So if you want to go through the top tools that I recommend for Amazon KDP, I've also made a video on that, which I will leave linked on screen. Point number 15. Now, this isn't necessarily applicable to everybody, but if you're making, things like activity books and those kinds of style of books, most of your sales will come during Q4. It's absolutely insane. The uplift that you get in royalties during Q4, my November and December royalties are something like 8 to 10 times what I get on usual months. It's absolutely insane. So if you're starting Amazon KDP, this is why I say you need to give it at least 12 months before you decide whether or not this is for you. Because if you start KDP in something like January and then it gets to something like April and you think, oh, I've not made many sales, you're just going to be disheartened and you're going to quit. But actually, if you'd stayed on that path and made it all the way to Q4, you would realize just how much potential this business model has. So most of your sales, if you're making these kind of books, will come during Q4. Even if you're not making these kind of books, you will still see a significant uplift, but you need to give Amazon KDP at least 12 months to be able to judge whether or not it's right for you, because you will see so much benefit during this period. Point number 16, do not try and break the rules. It's so tempting to make books that are copyrighted or trademarked because they sell well. They sell well for a reason, and that reason is why they are trademarked and copyrighted. Do not do that, because on Amazon KDP, you cannot delete a book. Once you've made it, it is up there forever. So don't be tempted at the start to try and get some quick sales to, get off to a good start. And then 4 or 5 years down the line, when you've got a really successful KDP business, you lose everything because you couldn't be patient and they got that trademark book that you made right at the start that you now know is completely wrong. It's too late. It's already been done. Do not break the rules. Look at the KDP content guidelines really carefully and you will have no issues with Amazon KDP. Point number 17, copying someone else's book will not work. A lot of people send me their books on KDP and all they've done is they've seen a book that's doing well on Amazon KDP and then just exactly copied it themselves and they're wondering why it's not selling. So the reason why this is the case is, yes, if someone's made a book that's selling really well, technically that's proof of concept, but if their book has already got hundreds or even thousands of reviews, it's a better quality one than yours, even though you've made exactly the same product, why is anybody going to buy yours over theirs? Because they have all of this proof already. All of the sales are going to go to them. Don't just copy people's books. You will not be successful. But building on that, point number 18, what you need to do instead is take the concepts of these successful books and put your own spin on them. So if it's a successful coloring book, that's doing really well in a certain niche, what other styles of coloring book can you do? Bold and easy coloring book maybe, or a pattern coloring book in that niche, or a color by numbers in that niche, because the same audience that's buying, just a general coloring book in a certain niche will probably also be interested in a type of, different coloring book in that same niche. So it's not about just copying what everyone is doing. See what successful books are out there, put your own spin on it and make your own unique product. That realistically is how you are successful on Amazon KDP. Once you do that, eventually people will start copying you, but you'll be that market leader and then force them to do the same thing. This is exactly what one of my students has done, and he has made over £60,000 in 8 months from this very book. We took an existing concept that was working well, made a brand new book around it, a slightly different version of it, same audience. That's been a huge success and actually is selling even more than that first one that we found initially. Now, point number 19, this is a really important one. Build Amazon KDP alongside your main income. That's exactly what I did. I've been doing Amazon KDP full time now for 3.5, almost 4 years. But for the first 2 years, I built this alongside a job. And the reason why this is so important is because a job basically gives you your income. You have to live off some kind of money. Your job essentially gives you that money that you can live off. And then any other spare money that you have or spare time that you have, that then gets invested into Amazon KDP. Keep building onto that KDP business as a side hustle, because if you just do KDP business and you're fully reliant on making this as much money as possible because you need to put food on the table and you need to pay your bills, that just becomes extremely stressful. You're rushing, you're focusing on the wrong things. Honestly, if you have a full-time job, you're in the best position possible to be successful with Amazon KDP, because you can invest back into your KDP business with any spare money that you have, and there's no pressure to get this to be a successful point, in 2 or 3 months just to pay the bills. That's exactly exactly what my Publisher Profit Mastery course is all about, teaching you how to build and systemize a KDP business alongside a full-time income if you have that. So yeah, do not rush into making Amazon KDP your main income. I only made it my main focus when one book made over 5 times my monthly salary at my old job. At that point, I realized it makes no sense to stay in my old job. I can do KDP full-time. It was glaringly obvious. Until it is glaringly obvious, keep it as a side hustle. It is definitely the fastest way to grow. And finally, run your own race. We live in a world now where you can't go on social media without seeing someone else who's sat on a Lamborghini, or they're in Dubai, or they're making £1 million a day. A, half of this a lot of the time is just noise, and B, it makes no difference what someone else is doing. Just focus on what you're doing. Everybody starts out with different amounts of time, different amounts of money they can invest into the business. You cannot compare yourself to anybody else. Everyone's situation is entirely unique to them. So therefore, just focus on your own race. Look at how your KDP business is growing month on month or year on year. Those are the comparisons you need to be making. Compete against yourself only and nobody else. Else it's the fastest way to burn out and just think you're not going to be a success. So there you go. There are 20 things that I wish I knew when I first started Amazon KDP. If you do have any questions about anything that I've covered in this video, then please do let me know down in the comment section below. Or if you want me to expand on any of these points in significantly more detail, where I can make an individual video about that specific thing, then also let me know down in the comment section down below. But thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.